How do you research obscure Prohibition-era laws? Imagine trying to find a law that was written almost 100 years ago, buried in a maze of old documents, and maybe even forgotten by most today. That's the challenge of uncovering strange prohibition laws. To start, you need to understand the big picture. The federal laws like the 18th Amendment, which banned alcohol across the country, and the Volstead Act that explained how to enforce it. These set the stage but left room for local quirks. Next, dig into state laws and local ordinances from the 1920s and early 1930s. Many states had their own rules about alcohol before the national ban, and some kept strange restrictions afterward. You can find these in state legislative archives or old legal books stored in university law libraries. Look for odd clauses, exemptions, or enforcement rules that seem out of place. For example, some laws allowed alcohol for medicinal or religious purposes, which created loopholes. Court records from that era are a goldmine. When people challenged prohibition laws, courts often had to interpret what was legal or not. These cases sometimes exposed contradictions or loopholes, like what exactly qualified as an intoxicating beverage. Reading through these decisions shows how laws were actually applied and sometimes bent to fit the situation. Old newspapers and magazines from the time also help paint a picture of how these laws played out in real life. They tell stories of bootlegging, secret speakeasies, and enforcement mishaps. You might find reports about government attempts to poison industrial alcohol to stop drinking or bizarre local rules about how much alcohol could be served and where. Special tools make research easier. Digital databases of old newspapers let you search for keywords like prohibition loopholes or illegal alcohol. Legal archives hold original statutes and court decisions. Government records from the Treasury Department, the Internal Revenue Service Prohibition Unit, and the Coast Guard reveal enforcement efforts and oddities. Understanding the language is key. Loopholes are gaps or ambiguities in the law that people used to get around restrictions, like claiming alcohol was for religious use. Ordinances are local laws that could differ wildly from state or federal rules. When you focus on unusual exceptions, enforcement quirks, and creative legal interpretations, you start to see how communities navigated the complex web of prohibition laws. Many of these rules are forgotten now but reveal a lot about how Americans adapted to the dry laws. So, researching these obscure laws means piecing together a puzzle from federal statutes, state and local laws, court decisions, and old news stories. Each layer uncovers more of the strange, funny, and sometimes bizarre legal landscape of America's alcohol ban era.